Now, Alabama last year had what was, I think, a little bit of a disappointing 9-win campaign. Now, I think disappointing in the eyes of some, if you really look at it from the outside looking in, it would be easy to say for people, oh, yeah, hey, Bama should win double-digit games every year. They did for a long time under Saban, all this other stuff. And then you look at the amount of turnover that they experienced year over year and the amount of guys that were lost to the portal last year, and you look at some of the great moments. Last year's season, I think, in many ways was a success. Now, if you look at the bowl game, disappointment. The Oklahoma game, disappointment. The Vanderbilt game, disappointment. But there were some high moments as well, like when they beat LSU convincingly at their place. And, of course, the biggest win of the season, that one coming against Georgia there in the early part. So let's look at this year's schedule. It's a unique one, right? Alabama's win total this year is 9.5. That is at the high point for the SEC. You also have Texas as 9.5. You have Georgia that's at 9.5. So Vegas kind of looks at the SEC and the top tier of the SEC and kind of wondering who's going to get to double digits. Well, Alabama's schedule appears like it can get there. They'll start the season by going to Florida State. Anybody's guess as to what Florida State's going to be this year. I'd welcome any input you might have because I don't know. I think they got a chance to be decent, but are they going to be anywhere near what they were 2 years ago? Probably not. That should be a game that Alabama wins. They have Louisiana Monroe in week 2. They have Wisconsin at home in week 3. I'd be surprised if Alabama doesn't start the season 3-0. Now we got to find 7 more wins for them to eclipse that 9.5 win total. At Georgia, extremely difficult game. You would imagine that Georgia will be up for that one. So I think that one we'll put in the toss-up category for the moment. Vanderbilt, that's one at home. I think Vanderbilt's probably a pretty good opponent, but I would imagine Bama will have that one circled, trying to exact some revenge after last year's disappointment. They'll go to Missouri on October 11th. Tough game for sure, but a game that you would hope that Alabama would travel and play well before traveling home to play Tennessee in the third Saturday in October at home, probably trying to exact some revenge there too. So I think Alabama will handle their business at home against Vanderbilt and Tennessee, at Georgia, at Missouri, 2 very tricky games. And then to round out the October schedule, that's at South Carolina, a team that I think's got a lot of promise, but a team that also has a few question marks coming into the season. We'll put that one in the toss-up category as well. Bama will finish the season by playing 3 of their final 4 at home against LSU, Oklahoma, and Eastern Illinois before they go on the road on November 29th at Auburn. So the home schedule, I think, is pretty manageable. You have Wisconsin, Vandy, Tennessee, LSU, Oklahoma, and Eastern Illinois. Those are games that can all be won by the Tide. Now, the road schedule, very tricky. I think Missouri's a big question mark. South Carolina's a big question mark. And frankly, I think Auburn is a huge question mark as well, knowing that they've improved in so many areas this past season and addressing concerns from the previous year. I think they've actually brought in premier talent kind of across the board. So you look at Bama trying to get to that 10-win plateau yet again. I like their chances. I really do. But it starts by being undefeated at home, and it also starts by making sure that they play up to their potential on the road, which they did not always do a year ago. I think if I had to pick, though, I think I'd take Bama on the over this year. I like what they have back. I like the continuity. And I think you might be kind of getting in on an underrated Alabama team going into the season, which is rare. That's seldom the case for the Crimson Tide. We'll go next to Texas A&M and head coach Mike Elko. Their over-under win total is at 8.5. They had 8 wins last year. And if you look at their schedule, there's a lot of things to like. There's 4 games you would think are winnable immediately. Before we even get started, I would expect A&M to win at home against UTSA, Utah State, Samford, and Mississippi State. With all due respect to Mississippi State, I don't know if the progress will be enough at this point to go on the road and win a game in the SEC. Look at the other games that they have on their schedule. At Notre Dame, incredibly difficult game on September 13th. Auburn at home, Florida at home. 2 games that I think you got to win. You got to hold serve at home before you go to Arkansas, to LSU, and to Missouri. Those 3 games are between October 18th and November 8th. 3 difficult road trips in a 4-week span will be challenging for the Texas A&M Aggies. They'll have South Carolina at home. I would imagine they'll have that one circled after the disappointment in Columbia last year before finishing up the regular season by traveling to Texas in what should be a great rivalry game. So you look at this schedule, I think there's a bunch of games that are very winnable. Auburn at home, Florida at home. Those games you have to take care of business. I think it's going to be hard to go up to Notre Dame and get a win. I think you can get Arkansas on the road as well. So I think you look at those, some of those home games, a couple gettable road games. A&M should be sitting pretty this year. And if they can continue to be as good on defense as I anticipate them being and make some progress offensively while staying healthy, I think A&M's one of those teams that not enough people are talking about going into this upcoming season. I think A&M Aggies have a chance to really threaten. I really believe this, really threaten in the SEC this year if they can stay healthy across the board. We'll go next to Mississippi State and Jeff Lebby, whose over-under win total is just at 3.5. They had just 2 wins last year, so it might seem, well, 3.5, they can get that. But to know that they only had 2 last year, including a loss to the non-conference to Toledo, it might be a little tougher than you might assume. But this was a team last year that was trying to figure themselves out. It was a complete shift in what they wanted to be from a philosophy standpoint. I think if Blake Shapen can stay healthy at quarterback, they should be in a really good spot. And you look at their non-conference, there should be 3 wins in the non-conference automatically. That's at Southern Miss, Alcorn State, and then against Northern Illinois. If they can get to 3-0 in the non-conference there, then take your pick. You got to make one upset. One upset happen. I frankly do not envision Mississippi State right now being able to go on the road and get an upset. I don't think that's likely to happen. But can they do it at home? Good luck against this schedule. You have Arizona State, who comes to town on September 6th. Arizona State is a playoff team from a year ago and returns a lot of their core from a year ago. You have Tennessee. That might be the most gettable opportunity because at this point, while I think Tennessee has a chance to be really solid, I don't think they'll be anywhere near as good as they were a year ago. So maybe that's the one that Mississippi State has to circle on September 27th to be able to get over that 3.5 win plateau because their other home games are against Texas, Georgia, and Ole Miss. At this point, yes, there are questions surrounding Ole Miss. There are a few pieces that need to be replaced there, but I don't see a win against Texas and I don't see a win against Georgia, not at this point. So can they get Tennessee and can they get Ole Miss, or could they perhaps pull a big upset against the Big 12 favorite or one of the Big 12 favorites in Arizona State? That'll be the big question mark for Jeff Lebby here in year number 2.